Have you ever felt that life has given you a place too small for the dreams inside you? Labakan felt that every single day. He was known across his town as the finest tailor anyone had ever seen. Merchants traveled miles to get their robes stitched by him. His hands were precise, his designs elegant, and his reputation flawless. Yet, no matter how much people praised him, Labakan never felt proud. Whenever he sat by the window of his shop, watching noblemen pass by on horseback, he would whisper to himself, "I was not born to sew clothes for kings. I was born to be one." The admiration of customers sounded to him like pity. The sound of scissors cutting cloth felt like chains. He did not see his craft as a gift. He saw it as a prison. One summer afternoon, Labakan closed his shop and decided to travel for a few days. He told himself he needed inspiration, but deep inside, he was searching for something else, a different life. On the road, he met a young traveler named Omar. Omar carried himself differently. He was calm, disciplined, and spoke with quiet confidence. They shared food by a campfire that evening, and as the night grew deeper, Omar revealed a secret. "I am returning to my father," he said. "He is the king. When I was a child, I was sent away for safety during a time of war. Now that I am 22, it is time for me to return and take my place." From his satchel, Omar carefully removed a sealed letter. "This bears the royal mark," he explained. "It proves who I am." Labakan stared at the letter. The firelight reflected off the seal, and in that moment, something dangerous awakened in him. Fate, he thought, had finally opened a door. That night, Omar fell asleep peacefully beneath the stars, but Labakan could not sleep. A crown, a palace, silk instead of thread, power instead of patience. His thoughts argued with him, then slowly justified him. Was this not destiny? Had he not always believed he was meant for more? Before dawn, temptation became action. Labakan took Omar's horse, he took the letter, and he rode away, toward the kingdom. When Labakan arrived at the palace gates, he wore garments of his own making, the finest he had ever stitched. The guards, impressed by his appearance and the royal seal, escorted him inside. He spoke boldly. He acted like someone who belonged. The king, overwhelmed with emotion, embraced him. "My son, you have returned to me at last." And just like that, Labakan stepped into the life he had always imagined. Days passed. He walked through marble halls. Servants bowed. Musicians played in his presence. But something felt strange. Every smile he gave felt practiced. Every word he spoke felt borrowed. He had gained the palace, but not the peace he expected. Meanwhile, the real Omar finally arrived. Dusty from travel, riding a modest horse, without the letter, because it had been stolen. He demanded to see the king, but without proof, and dressed like an ordinary traveler. His words sounded like madness. The king refused to believe him. "You dare claim to be my son? Take this impostor away." Omar was imprisoned. Only one person remained unconvinced, Princess Reina. She had observed Labakan closely. There was elegance in his clothing, but uncertainty in his eyes. So she devised a test. Let both men sew a robe, she suggested to the king. A prince would not have mastered the skill of a common tailor. Labakan froze when he heard the proposal. If he refused, suspicion would grow. If he accepted, his secret might show. But pride betrayed him. He could not resist demonstrating his brilliance. Within hours, he created a robe so magnificent that the entire court admired it. Omar, however, refused to sew. "I was raised to defend a kingdom, not to stitch garments," he said. The king grew confused. Skill looked like nobility. Honesty looked like weakness. Unable to decide, the king sought the wisdom of an ancient fairy who who lived beyond the forest. The fairy gave him 2 identical boxes. "Let each man choose one," she said. "The choice they make will reveal who they truly are." One box was marked, "Happiness and Riches." The other, "Strength and Honor." Labakan stepped forward quickly. All his life he had chased wealth, status, recognition. His choice was immediate: happiness and riches. Omar stepped forward calmly. He chose strength and honor. When the boxes were opened, Labakan's treasure vanished into dust, an illusion, like the life he had stolen. Omar's box shone with steady light. Truth needed no explanation. The court understood. The king fell to his knees before his real son. Omar was restored as prince. Labakan stood exposed. Not as a king, not even as a villain, but as a man who had run away from himself. He was banished. Omar, however, chose mercy. "Let him go," he said. "A man punished by truth has already learned enough." Labakan returned to his old town, to the small shop he once despised. For days he could not even touch his tools. But slowly he picked up the needle again. This time, not to escape his life, but to live it. And something remarkable happened. His work became better than ever. It was said his needle moved so swiftly, it seemed to sew by itself. People came not because he pretended to be great, but because he truly was. Labakan finally understood. He had not been meant for a throne. He had been meant for mastery. And mastery, honestly earned, brought him the peace a stolen crown never could. So friends, what do we learn from this story? Ambition is not wrong. But when we reject who we are, we lose ourselves chasing what we are not. You can borrow status. You cannot borrow identity. True success begins the moment you stop pretending and start becoming. If this story spoke to you, subscribe for more stories that make us reflect on life. Like, share, and return again. Because sometimes, the stories we hear